So today what I'm going to do is prepare a garden bed using the flail mower on the BCS tractor, the 853. And what I want to show you is how I'm able to quickly mow down a previous crop in preparation for a new planting. And what I like to do is show you the difference between using the machine and then doing it by hand. So I have a few beds that I need to prepare for some fall brassicas and some different vegetables that I want to harvest later in the fall. And I'm going to start out by using the BCS to mow this lettuce that has gone to seed and prep this bed specifically using a machine. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and do the same thing on one of these rows. I'm going to prep both of these rows here for some fall planting. One of them I'm going to use just a hand process for preparing the bed, and then the other I'm going to use again the BCS. And I just want to see the difference between how the BCS prepares a bed with clover and prepares a bed without clover and kind of a previous crop of lettuce. And then I want to see how I'm able to do the same thing using just hand tools. All right. Let's fire up the BCS. So obviously it makes really short work and of the bed prep, I should say. And you can see what it leaves behind is just a nice mulch, kind of mulched layer with some roots from the big stalks of lettuce mixed in. The disadvantage is there are, you know, some weeds. I rolled over some weeds. There's also a lot of lettuce seed that might just get kind of rolled into this. But I don't mind volunteer lettuce coming up, quite frankly. Could be worse, right? I'm not really trying to produce so much food that I'm feeding the nation, just feeding a few people. So the next thing I want to do is hit one of the clover beds just to see what happens to this same surface, because it could, well, I know for sure it's going to leave me with a lot of this nice material on top. So this is still a nice a moisture suppressant, a weed barrier, green manure, if you will. Just kind of, I'm not going to rototill this. This is just going to be a top dressing, if you will, of things. So I'll come through and pull out the rest of these big roots as a kind of final prep. But it's pretty nice how the flail mower is able to prep the bed. And really, it's only walking across the bed once or twice. In my case, I went back and forth 3 times, but I don't feel like that's going to be that detrimental to compacting the soil. Certainly a lot less detrimental than rototilling, in my opinion. So that's it. Just take one last look through here, make sure I didn't leave any of those hoops. All right, clear. Neutral, kill the engine. So what does that leave us with? One pass, and we've got a really nice mulch layer. It's not pulled it out by the roots, so this white perennial clover should grow back. But look at that green manure bounty. So what I'll do now is I'm going to go through, and like I said, I'll pull the drip tape back out into place, figure out where my watering spacing is, and then I'll just clear out an area 18 inches or so for these cabbages and different broccolis that I'm going to put in here, and go from there. Now that bed, I'm going to do this whole thing by hand. So obviously that was pretty fast, right? It took me less than a minute to walk that entire length. Some people take a rotary harrow and then they blend all of that in, but again, I don't want to take the clover out, nor do I want to till this bed. I'm really trying to see how things grow and build up over time. And again, I'm just doing a comparison between the mechanized approach versus the hand tool approach. All right, so in this option, what we're gonna do is use the scythe and prepare the bed in the same way that I just prepared the other two. In this case, this has just been a dormant bed, and the plan again is to mow the clover down, not remove it, because I do want it to grow back and continue growing it as my cover crop for the fall. Okay, so let's get this started. Okay, with the drip tape out of the way, I can begin scything. Now, obvious advantages to scything are the workout, the quiet, I guess one could say potentially you have more control with this. There's less overall weight on the bed. That BCS weighs quite a bit. Advantages to the BCS are maybe the fact that it mulches. This is really just laying the clover down. Careful as I get near the tape. And there we go. So, what did that take? A couple minutes. And now we just have all of this lovely biomass that I can bring back on top of the bed, let it sort of decompose in place. Continue to act as a weed barrier. And then I can come back and open up my planting spots, you know. So with letting that all lay on top, I can come back and say every 18 inches, open up a hole, pull out the clover all the way by the roots, and then boom, plant directly into that. Take another 18 inches, make my planting spot here. You know, I've obviously come through with my hori and do that properly, but open up planting location, direct seed my brassicas directly into this. So on one hand, you've got this highly mulched, kind of clean bed ready for direct planting, or you've got this more kind of lofty, airy biomass. Same quantity of material, just one is directly on the soil and it's going to probably break down a lot faster versus this. But as you've probably seen, when you cut clover and lay it in place, it really wilts and disintegrates pretty quickly. So the next step for me is to bring the drip tape back in place. I'll probably move around the clover and get the drip tape underneath it. But aside from that, it's ready to plant. Now, if I were prepping for, like, say, the lettuce, I would do a totally different, well, not totally different. I would do this, but I would need to come in and pull out all of the clover by its roots, because lettuce doesn't like that kind of competition, obviously. But I think it's interesting to see how mechanized approach versus a hand tool approach yields some differences, but some similarities. And the hand approach is just as fast, personally.